Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Hoosier Garage, and we lately have been doing a lot of different projects. A lot of it's based on our waiting for having parts put together, or ordering parts, or getting parts set up properly that we don't have the skill or the knowledge to do. So we're kind of in that predicament. We've got some body work that we've been doing on our last video. So we're going to get a hodgepodge of videos. So if you don't mind that, then yeah, this is the place for you. If you're not into that, please bear with us. But right now, some of the body work's waiting, and I got my paneling in for the interior of the van, okay? Me and Sam, we are fitting up some pieces, and I really appreciate his help for bringing stuff in and out so we can trim the edges. But the first piece I put in was this ceiling piece, and I did it last night. I actually used the tripod from our camera here that you can't see, and cranked it up here in the middle and held it up while I had it slipped over the top of the edge. I was able to screw the panel in on areas where I know that it'll be hidden by some trim. So there'll be a wall or a retainer here. So I put a screw there, and we have them right out on the edges on each of the beams. And they're short enough screws that they don't shoot all the way through the roof. So be careful if you're doing anything like that. Okay, so nothing is stapled in or punched in here yet. It's kind of hanging free up here. But we got the wheel well cut. And I initially made a measurement that looked like this one here. I did the width, and I just went along the floor and got the width of it. And then I measured how high it was from the floor, and then folded that down onto the actual panel here. And then try to do a radius and then go down. Well, the way the wheel wells are, they're kind of hard to figure. There's not really any kind of a slope to it up here, but it's probably just bad calculation on my part. But it's better to cut less than more. And as you can see, this piece compared to the one back here is quite smaller. And so we had to trim this one out and get it all fit up to where the panel here would set down flush, and it would be parallel, these lines, with the floor. And when we got that finally trimmed away, then we was able to transfer it to the other side, and that's what got this much larger piece. So you can see how much of a variation we have there. So no, I'm not the greatest at that. So we got that piece. This one here is the one that it's another full sheet. These are 4x8 sheets, by the way. That's a full uncut sheet. The only place this is cut is the wheel well, and so far this one's only cut for the wheel well on this side. Now we just pushed it back in there, made sure it fit, and then we got this line here which denotes the opening of the door, and I came just to the inside edge of it, just like right here, and then I just took a marker and swiped it. He pushed in on it and made sure it was all setting right, and so we're getting ready to cut that and come back around here. Got this at Lowe's. It's a Craftsman brand. You know, Craftsman kind of went down for a while, and about $70 I think for that one. It's got variable speed. So I figure I'll be doing more projects like this in the future, so you might as well spend a little bit and get a decent one. So what'll happen, we'll cut this, and this will give us a lot of extra paneling for other stuff, other areas, corners, and all that kind of thing. And then this piece will fit up here. Now, like I said, these aren't going up permanent yet. We still need to put insulation behind them and get like a moisture barrier. And if you're wondering about the corners up here, those will be trimmed out in like a carpet, and we'll have to figure out how to do that. Probably do a couple of 1/4 inch Luan or plywood panels that are covered and embraced, and we could screw them into the existing screw holes here. This one here will probably get cut. If you see right about there's a black line. I'm gonna have a beam that goes across here and a beam that goes across this one. This one will set over top of the existing superstructure. This one, the way it's spaced, will not. But probably what I'll do is I'll split this piece off, and so we don't have the seam coming up here. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, I'll show you later on. End at your toes, yeah. much like that is how we want it. And you know, you might have to trim or something later, but for the most part, the only thing I think would need trim is just where I did the initial cut. It fits around the wheel well good. It sets flush with the floor, parallel these lines to the floor. And yeah, so that one, and this one, that's our three main pieces that we need. Everything else is getting into the detail. So stay tuned for that. Okay, what I just did there was cut off the excess section and made it to where it ends over top of one of the beams, the decorative beams that we're going to put in here. And like I said, I'll show you the construction of that later. I have it. It'll kind of be like this. This is actually just one of my first prototypes, but it'll set like up here, and then it'll be covered in the same paneling or maybe something close or just something dark. And we're going to have lights in each end of this. And I drilled a hole in there so if you have a harness you run through, but I've decided to kind of go a little bit different route on that, so I'm going to make some new ones later. And we'll just deal with the paneling right now. Our panel here, which goes on the side, nothing's fastened on the sides yet. So it'll go up here like so and fit into place. One other thing I did while I had the ceiling down was there's a factory dome light that fits right here. I thought it'd be cool to retain that. And it's just one of the simple standard types like you have in all the cars, trucks, you know, the little round one with the little lens in it. It's hanging over there, so I'll be able to run the wiring over the top of the paneling up into here and then attach it from the bottom. It'll also help hold the panel up, at least temporarily or for now. So I'm gonna work on getting this back up here and screwing it back into the bracing superstructure. And I'll see if I don't have to enlarge that hole anymore for the socket on the wiring. So I'll take a look at that. Probably take this out because everything's gonna fall in on me. So ideally, you want to put the ceiling in first, so all this doesn't really matter at the moment. But at least we have it cut. So I'll basically just take a drill and open this up here. And that's what I'm showing you. See, it needs to be about this wide. My thing is not to make it too big to where it shows out from the side of the bezel, which that's a pretty big bezel, but you don't want to have any boo-boos. So with the way the bracing is there, see the brace comes across, the wire is on that side, and then it would feed in through this hole. So the bracket is set on that side of the beam. So likely we could drag this part of the hole out so that it all fits through there easily. And then it'll come through there. So we'll give that a try. Okay. Now, you know, I'm showing you this because it might, if you're doing a van, this might not be specifically what you're doing with this particular dome light fixture, but another fixture might work the same way. The kind of the drawback to working with this one is it has this little hump that extends beyond the plane here, and then so I went ahead and cut that out, which is fine. But then the next hard part is the way the wiring harness enters into the fixture. It's really tight back here, so when you fit it up in here, I actually had to take a rasp, which is, if you're not familiar with a rasp, it's like a file for wood that's got a really heavy, coarse texture on it. And you pull all this out, and I went down there to make it thinner right there, where it's like 1/4 inch paneling, and I made it very, very thin through there, like a little groove for this real narrow area to slip back in there enough so that I could put the screws in here and they would fit directly into the bracing. Before, this wouldn't let me go in for enough, so I couldn't quite get it back in there. So I've worked it back to where I think I can do it. Now I might have to go longer screws to do the paneling, but these are the screws that came in it originally. So we're going to try to run those up in there. It's a dusty job, so. And again, this will all come back out because 2 reasons. And you got to find the hole in that one. Big thing is finding that hole. And see, we're just not finding it. Oh, there we go. There we go. Now we don't want to tighten it all the way because this will have a little bit of a pivot, and we want to make sure that we get the dust out of our eyes. That I got a light here. Should work. There a little bit. The holes are slotted in the dome light fixture, so that's good. There we go. That's what I want right there. Yeah, so we have our cargo light basically. They have another one of these up there between the 2 seats, and I might either use one of those, or I might actually go with one of the spotlight fixtured ones, because that's where the passengers will be, and they might be able to use one at a time. So, but that's what we do on that, and you can see how our cut is down here. The panel originally extended to this brace, but my thinking on that is we're going to put the beam across here, the decorative beam that has the lighting in it, and with it coming to here, we wouldn't have a good way to transition it other than, you know, stuffing some carpet or a piece of trim. But so you're adding extra stuff that you can avoid by just bringing it back, cutting it, and then some of the extra panel we use, we can extend it here back in over the console, and then it'll all get covered and you won't see odd seams, awkward seams through the whole thing. So that's my thinking on that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pin the rest of these panels up in here, and then you get a good look of what the paneling looks like. That's other than the piece that'll go here, and I might be able to start that one tonight too. But other than that, you'll see the basic imprint of what the paneling is going to be like in here. So, and if you think it looks too woody, you know, I understand. We don't have the other effects going in here yet, so stay tuned for that. looking at everything here. I've been planning on how to do the corners, but we do know that we have to do these corners here, like the vertical corners. So what I've been looking at, I'm trying to get some measurements and writing them out here, is I'll have a panel that comes up here against this piece, it'll curve up in here, same thing there, and then we'll have like a diagonal piece, and it'll come from about here up. We don't have to worry about below here. This is where the gas filler tube, the kind of the shield that comes through here, and so we don't have to worry about going around it because this area here will be boxed in. And when I say boxed in, basically from the top of this wheel well, it's about 11.5 or so inches. That'll cover this whole area like a platform right here. So this will be underneath, and the amount of storage you gain by doing something like that and having like either a chair or like a couch or bed up here allows you to put your spare tire in here, any tools, and you can go back, heck, I mean, you can go back about 4 feet. So 4 feet by just over 4 feet square. There's a little in here and a little in there. So a lot of room to haul stuff like that. But we do have a plan in case we want to use it a little bit more like a truck or a traditional cargo van to make things kind of modular. But that's down the road. But right now we'll just worry about these panels. And like I said, we only have to come up, I came up off the subfloor, I came up 11 inches. So that'll be a safe area, so we can go from here. And I'm going to go to the top of where this plane is here. I know it curves down, but we're going to include a curve on our piece. So right up here, and that is 3 feet exactly. Measure in just to be sure. 36 inches. So we got that, and the width I want to go. I kind of decided on 5 inches from here, right here on the edge, to about here. And the reason I'm thinking that is that we'd have enough room to put a speaker, like a 6x9 speaker, going a long ways here. So you want at least, just about 6.5 or so there. So we'll make this piece first, and if that fits good there, we'll flip it around and see if it integrates in there good. If so, we'll just make a double, do a template and make a reverse, like a book map or whatever they call that. And yeah, so we do know up here 8.5 inches, so that we can acquire the cut, and then overall it's going to be 5 inches up. So I've got this piece here, which came off of one of the ends. I think the end maybe were the sunroof. So we're doing pretty good on the material usage on 4x8 panels. So we'll really get down to it when we build our little wall in there and anything else extra. So it might be tight, but it'd be awesome if we fell right on the dot. Lay that aside. Now, this is our piece. Pretty clean cut. Just take your time, go slow, and I think in some cases you use a little bit higher speed on that, it'll cut through it better. So don't force it. But I mean, we probably live with that. Press it up in here where you can screw it in. Well, pretty good. We might cut this little corner off here. It'll get covered by the piece that goes in here. So take a pin or something. Kind of lifts out about there. So. That's a pretty good cut there. I don't even know if I'm worried about that. It's so slight. It's barely a 1/16 of an inch. Just see how it kind of mirror images. So you do the same thing, just flip it around. Square it up on this edge. That looks pretty good. So we can just take this, use it as a reverse template on this other side. Just make sure you don't end up cutting a double one of these. You want it to be reversed on the paneling side here. So, and that'll be this one here. And remember to face it down so that you're not looking at the finished side here. See if we like it there. That would work. This is not a finished edge, this is a cut edge, so it'll get hidden. That'll be okay on this one. We've got a corner in here that gets chopped off. The length. And our width down here. Go. Right there, buddy. Right there, buddy. Okay, so I've spent probably half hour figuring out how to make this work, and I have a handful of screws in it. It's not completely in, but I'm pretty happy with what we got. We basically have some brackets that are in behind here like this, and then there's one here, here, and one up here. And then the pressure kind of holds it there, plus whatever we do at the top. So what I got to do, I got to pull this back off, take the brackets back out, and basically make a duplicate of everything. Make a reverse template of this, smooth it out first to make sure that we have a little bit of it peeks out there a little bit. So just smooth it, make it look, you know, uniform. And then we do the same thing on that side with the brackets and then the piece itself. We might have to do something with the screws, because I'm not going to put any edge trimming in here, I don't think, that will come around and cover any of that. So I might go with a more like a show screw or something that's a little bit more presentable and make it look intentional. With that, yeah, we'll just go to the other side, but I'll show you how this all works here in just a second. So as much as I hate to do this, I like to leave stuff present as much as I can. But the old spare tire rack here, it interferes with how the panel fits flush. You can't fit it flush against this with this here. You can almost kind of work around it, but it throws everything out too far. So we're gonna have to remove this. And it's basically, it's not really spot welded in, it's kind of almost like rod welded in. It's all the way around here, there, and then down here. There's probably a couple spots there, and then up behind this. So, oh, and here also. It's not welded there, that's for sure. So I'm not gonna like tear it out and throw it away. I will keep it just to have somebody else might need it at some point. If they got one that's torn up, I'll have it, but I'm gonna try to take it out as intact as I can. Okay, you can see here we got our pieces lined up. This is one, this goes to the bottom, 2 and 3. And they're obvious, really, that they are smaller, but you might have some kind of application where they're very, very close in size. And so it's good to number them. That way you know they go back to where they belong. So we're just going to basically make a duplicate of all of these, seeing as this side of the van is a mirror image of that side. And there's no other obstructions there now that the jack spare tire and the jack rail is all out. We have a vent tube over here, but that's not going to be in the way. It's actually going to be hidden. So these panels should fit exactly the same. So we can take these though in the meantime and just take a quick look. We might have to make some modification because of this, and it's looking like that's what'll happen here. So one thing on the other one, we'll cut the other one just like this, but then we'll probably have to cut a little loop out of it to fit around that. Number 2 goes up about yay high. And I wonder if we have the same deal with that. Yeah, so that's good. It actually just misses this, so we might be able to get away without doing a cut. If we do, we gnaw it out a little bit. And then up top, kind of the same thing, not too far up as where this one will be. So that's pretty good. Of course, we'll square them up, make sure they look straight. I think they might want to come down about there. So yeah, so far, these 2 fit good. And whenever we make this one, I said, like earlier, we'll just cut around it. And hopefully it won't take too much beef out. If it does, we can always glue and screw some other pieces to stack them just to give it more reinforcement. Because this is just pine. You can use hardwood if you can, or if you want to. And it might help out with the deal. But lay these out. That'll stay there at the moment. That kind of helps hold everything in place. This here, of course, there's a beam over here, a stud, and so this can play. Same thing on that side. We'll probably have to put a little footer in there so we can secure it, make it sturdy. This does quite a bit of that work. We just, like I said, have to cut around there. Okay, so we got the panels in. Like I said, this one was just the reverse of that one, and fit in pretty good. Now I still might, refine it a little bit just to make everything kind of flow a little bit better. But we've got our basic cutouts, and that's really good. That's what we want. What I need to do next for our paneling to kind of complete this whole wood paneling section of it is we need to cut the pieces for our doors. And we've got 4 cargo doors, 2 side, 2 rear. And they will also get cut out for this because you can make a cubby hole out of them. And obviously for your door handle here. Same thing on that side and the same thing on those. These go all the way to the bottom. Those, they go down so far, then they stop. They're kind of like the cars where they have the door panel that fits between this and the lower section. So we'll get ready to do that, and then we'll be done with our paneling. And then we can just show you what's to come and what else we have going on with that. Okay, so I went ahead and cut these door panels out. Measured up, down, side to side for these holes here. And one thing I found out when I was doing the curves here, a quart can of paint made that good radius, and it matched up with what I had there. So that worked out pretty good. I just drew the radiuses out. And the neat thing about these vans is they was kind of designed, it seemed like, for this paneling and stuff. So they 2 feet from top to the bottom, and of course when you put these side by side they make 4 feet, and that's exactly what your panel is, 4 feet wide. So very good usage of the paneling on that. And get these sections straight up here. So we're going to drill some holes so that we can figure out how these mount. And you got to watch for certain things like these holes, so you don't want to put a hole right here in it and then it hit nothing, then you're going to be holding your panel that's useless. And same thing on this one. It's roughly in the same area as this. So we'll have one that'll hit here and one that'll hit up in this corner. And it will be good here and here. We just make sure there's nothing back there that's going to cause any strife. So we can get our anchors that way. So I made a dot on the top of one of them, and I'm stacking these very straight and even here. So go ahead and drill a hole all the way through both of them. That way they'll be a uniform location. Okay, now I'm not as concerned about these screws showing as I am all this stuff, because you have a lot of ways to hide it there, and some locations will have to just deal with it. But on these, with the nature of this paneling, you can't put clips in it unless, you know, you got maybe certain little pockets you can put on the backside, but it wouldn't be as flush, I don't think. So we'll just kind of go with some finished screws, and I have these that I use on the panels and the front doors. And that'll be these right here. Just to have a little chrome washer on them and the screw, like a stainless. So we're gonna go with those. Our buddy Sam, he's with us. He was helping me earlier with some of this stuff. And so we'll just get these anchored up, and then you can figure out where the rest of your holes go. We might have to pull it off and cut for a slot here. That side it doesn't have it because it's where the latches go together. But we should be good down through here. And that one's got a little notch on that we might have to take account for. But we'll find that out. We'll just get these up here first, and we'll see what to do from there. Today I had to go to the farm store, and I got a handful. So we should be good on that. And yeah, we'll go ahead and get these stuck on there, and we can finish the ones on the back as far as getting the screws into place. So I went ahead and did cut these up size, so they're exactly like the ones that go in the rear, except they don't get the curve on the bottom because the rear doors are shorter. These are longer, so they got this panel down here, so there's no need to curve it since it drops down into the metal part. So we got that. In the rear ones, if you look over there, you kind of see it. You can see it there in the back. I can cut the little cubby holes out, and I figured I would do that since that would be your storage area down in there. Once you get the platform or any kind of a situation box built here, when you open those doors up, everything will be kind of right there in front of you. Now these here are kind of in limbo. I'm thinking on one of them, probably on this side, I might even do it over there, we'll make possibly a smaller hole and put a first aid kit in there. Our buddy Rob, he's got like a newer conversion van, and it's got right there a little Velcro first aid kit. I thought that's kind of a cool idea. It's something to show, and I've got an idea for that. We'll get into that later. But in the meantime, we'll just go ahead and mount them as they are in place. And then, you know, they're just a few screws. We can modify all that later and build a little box inside of here, anything like that. So it's just whatever you wanted to do on that. So it's good to work. With that one, we are now in. Nobody said it'd be easy, even the easy jobs. Well, there's that one. We'll go ahead and get this other one knocked out. We'll get these fit in, and then we'll give you a good look at everything inside and out. And there you have it. We've paneled the whole inside. And it's not permanent yet. It will be after we get our installation. And in this area here, put the light over on the area on the ceiling that we did here the other night. So there still needs to be some, you know, I'm sure some little bit of trimming and things of that sort. This is the majority of what we are working on here. And as far as this series, the interior build out, we'll be working on putting the trimming up through here. And I'm not completely decided what I want to do there yet. Originally I was thinking doing the carpet up there, but I might do a vinyl, and it'll flow in with that console over there because it's black and it's on the same plane as all this. So I might do that. I might do a mix and match. It doesn't really matter. It's just whatever you want to do, and you can maybe glean some ideas from it. And really, my ideas are not new. They're way older than I was even born. So I'm just kind of rehashing an old trend, an old concept with veining and veiner and build out, and kind of, you know, the concept here has always struck me as like you're an over-the-road trucker. You got your CB, you're up, you're driving a truck, but This is like the sleeper part. You know, you see the semi tractor trailers add the big section on the back. That's a sleeper where they live in. So it's kind of that concept, and it kind of just a miniature version of that. So just another fun way to do car automotive stuff and customization, that sort of thing. So we hope you enjoyed the video, and make sure you like, subscribe, check out our stuff, all our shirts and stickers down in the merchandise link below in the description. So thanks for coming to the Hoosier Garage, and stay tuned for all the other stuff coming up. So.